Thank you for tuning in to the Life of KG podcast. We are all about helping you guys in the beauty industry. Whether you're starting out in this industry or been in the business for years, we want to motivate you, educate you, and support you to grow. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to A Life of KG. I hope you're all having a great week so far. Today I get to interview Niraj. He has his own sales coaching and training company for small businesses. And he also wrote Everybody Works in Sales, which was Amazon top 100 on 21 occasions. That's pretty amazing. He also has a new book out, which is going to tell us about later on in the show. And there also might be a chance to win a signed copy. And he's going to give us some top tips of what we can do when it comes to sales in this tough time. So without further ado, here he is. Hey, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Absolute pleasure. Lovely to see you, Katie.
And you. It's nice to see you face to face rather than on the phone all the time.
Yeah, we're always talking on LinkedIn or over the phone. That's correct.
Can you introduce yourself for me and just explain exactly what you do?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Niraj. I'm an expert sales coach and trainer. What I do is I help micro businesses and I help small businesses generate more sales and do so with integrity.
Fabulous. So how long have you been coaching for?
I've been coaching for 8 years. So I spent 23 years in London working in sales and then running sales teams from magazines to the Guardian newspaper group to FTSE 100 companies. And around about 2011, I became a manager for the first time. And I loved coaching people. And that was a big turnaround for me. And I just thought, you know what? This is what I want to do. But I never had the courage to kind of set my own business up because when you're working in corporate London, it's a very comfortable lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And I think about 3 years ago, I started to get very restless, as a lot of people do. Just before they set their own business up, they think, I want to travel less. I want to spend more time with family. I'm going to set my own business up. And as you and I both know, that's the complete opposite of what happens. It's just like you're working day and night, you've got more stress, less money. It's the complete opposite of what you expect, but it's an amazing experience and you learn so much setting up your own business. But that was why I set it up initially, was to have more family time and to have less stress.
And that's not so true, or is it?
The first year definitely wasn't true. The first year, almost every day, sometimes twice a day, I just stopped going back to work again because it was so difficult. Nothing could prepare me for how hard it is to run your own business. Nothing. All my friends have their own jobs. So I had nothing to measure it with. And it was so difficult. And why am I working such long hours for? And why am I working Sundays for? And you're working all the time. But the first year is the toughest. And I would say by about the 18-month stage, I started to really enjoy it. And by about 20 months, I started to make some good money. And now I love it. Now it's the best decision I ever made.
That's so good. A lot of people just don't see the behind the scenes and what really goes into a business until they actually launch one.
Yeah. I mean, all my family are public sector. They're teachers, they're physiotherapists, they're doctors. So I never grew up in an entrepreneurial or business-like household. I grew up in a household, you worked, you went to university, you got a boring job for life. That's what it was like. And of course, in the real world, that's not really that exciting. Not for me anyway. For some people, it's fine. But for me, I wanted more excitement in my life. And doing the same thing every day just wasn't exciting for me.
That's so good. So how's your coaching kind of work then? Do you visit people? Is it all done over phone? Like, just in case those people that were listening are interested.
Until COVID-19, it was all face-to-face.
Yeah.
With big companies, so about 20% of my clients are big corporates. So I'll walk into Sainsbury's or Barclays or a big corporate, and they'll have maybe anywhere from 10 to 20 people who refuse to pick up the phone or who don't know how to sell or who can't use LinkedIn. There's a variety of reasons, and I'll go in and do a day's training. And that's just 20% of my business. That's the big corporate work. But the work that I really love doing is what I call one-to-one coaching. And if somebody lives within 30 miles of me, I will go visit them at their home, or we'll find a hotel lobby nearby and work there. And I simply ask them, where are you now? Where do you want your business to be? What gaps do you have in the middle? And how can I fill those gaps in for you? And my job as a coach is to push you to become better. And then, of course, push you to get results. Because ultimately, I get hired for results. And that's why people want to work with me, because I get results, but I do it in a way that's It's not pushy, it's not aggressive. A lot of male coaches especially don't have the best reputations. And because most of my clients are women, and I've often asked them why hire me? And it's because you see the videos I do or my posts on LinkedIn, they're not aggressive, they're not threatening, they're very supportive. And one thing I do, which a lot of coaches don't do, is I lead with kindness, because I believe kindness is one of the most underrated business skills, and actually one of the most underrated sales skills anybody can have.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And even that kindness, like you showed me that the other week, and I'm not even a client of yours, and you just randomly called me with all this going on just to see how I was and how Lola Rose was. And that was just such a kind and thoughtful thing. And it really like just made me happy for the rest of the day, just like someone picking up the phone just out of the blue in the middle of all of this, just to ask how you are. So I can definitely vouch for that.
Oh, thank you. Well, there's a number of reasons why kindness is important. First of all, kindness is contagious. So if I'm kind to you, chances are it's going to make your day better, and you're going to be kind to somebody else. So it's a really good thing to do. And about 4 weeks ago, like many people, my business was kind of shaken at the core, and I lost a lot of business. And it was very difficult to know what to do. I think everybody, Katie, was in a really bad position, myself included. And I thought, well, what do I do here? So, I'm very old fashioned. I write all my ideas down on pen and paper, and I was brainstorming. And I thought, you know what? Even though I've had a few clients cancel on me, I'm going to keep helping them. I mean, if you work with me for 6 months or a year, why would I give up on you when times are tough? And so I kept helping them for nothing. I asked for nothing in return. I just kept helping them. And I think they were all quite surprised. There was no upsell. There was not, look, give me a LinkedIn recommendation, nothing like that. I just kept helping them. And 2 weeks ago, one of my clients came back. And last week, another client came back. I didn't ask them to. I just kept supporting him, showing kindness, offering help, making recommendations to people I thought could help them. And I do believe, almost half my business is just based on recommendation of people who say, yeah, Niraj is a good guy. You should get in touch with him. Not Niraj is a genius. Not Niraj is the best sales coach in the world. No, he's a really good guy, and he'll do right by you. I think that's really important in business.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So obviously you talk and speak with a lot of business owners all of the time. What would you say is like the most common issue that you find that business owners face?
The biggest challenge business owners have is, well, two actually. One is the number of leads coming into their business, but also how do they convert those leads into sales? And that's something most people don't know how to do. And what they often do is people are very, I often say people are very British when it comes to sales. They don't often ask for it because they feel it's impolite. And they often think if someone's interested, they'll come back to me, which of course doesn't work. And it's okay to follow up with a client. It is. 45% of the business you're ever going to make is based on the follow-up. And that's very, very important. And it's okay to follow up if it's done in a nice way. And there's certain language I think people are just not familiar with sales. So for example, when people call me, I bought some life insurance last week, and I went to 6 different companies, and every single time I ticked the box, Katie, saying, please contact me on my mobile. 6 companies. One person called me on the mobile. Only one. The rest of them just kept emailing me. So, you got to listen very carefully to what people say. And if you have the opportunity, pick up the phone and call people. And this guy picked up the phone. And I said to him, you know what? I'm really busy. Call me back tomorrow. And I often say that because, again, a lot of people do not follow up. Give me a call tomorrow, 9 o'clock, I'll speak to you. And he followed up. And I gave him the business because he was reliable. He kept his word. And in all fairness, he was actually a pretty decent salesperson too. But that's what I'm saying. You've got to take initiative. You've got to follow up. It's not a bad thing. It's not aggressive. It is okay to follow up. And it's very important business owners learn certain habits and skills. And one of those is listen to what people say, pick up the phone, and always, always follow up on a phone call.
And I guess a lot of people nowadays are actually quite nervous to just pick up the phone and talk to someone. Yeah.
People are terrified of picking up the phone because they don't want to bother people. They don't want to interrupt people. And I totally understand that. People are very busy. But now is actually the best time to be phoning people. And I'm having more success on the phone nowadays because people are staring at this tiny little camera all day long. And it's driving them bonkers, staring on Zoom, staring on Skype, whatever it is you're using. And people are doing webinars all day and they're staring at the computer all day. And if you give somebody a call between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they really, really do appreciate it. And I have my best conversations with clients later on in the afternoon because they're spending so much time staring at the computer. It's actually a welcome break for them.
Yeah, and I actually agree with that, because in the morning is like my selfish time where I'm like getting ready, having a workout, sorting out Lola Rose's school work that we're trying to do and all that kind of thing. And then the afternoon you start to lack everything and it's like, okay. And then normally in the morning I just don't even answer the calls that come through. I'll call them in the afternoon. But if someone physically calls me in the afternoon, I do pick up because I'm like, oh, I could talk to someone that's like an adult.
Well, I always say, look, no business owner needs more emails. I've never met a business owner who said, God, I wish I had more emails. Nobody wants more emails. People spend so much time staring at their phones constantly, social media constantly, our apps, our computers, our laptops, that a lot of business owners don't realize picking up the phone and speaking to another human being is actually very refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
And also when you pick up the phone, you can get a decision much quicker than email. When you pick up the phone, you can judge somebody's tone. You can get answers much quicker. And especially with business owners, people buy people. That's how it works. And it's much easier to buy into somebody over a phone than it is by email.
Yeah, definitely. And also when it comes to leads as well, and I'm not sure, I think the stats have slightly changed now, but you might know them better than me. But there used to be stats where you used to be able to have to contact someone 3 to 6 times before they physically trusted you to buy something from you. And then social media come along, and then I think it was like 6 to 14 times they'd have to see your brand or hear from you or see your post that many times before then they trusted you to then buy into that as well. So I guess that links nicely with the calling and the following up all the time.
No, you're absolutely right. The current stats are 8 to 12 times. So you're right. That's how much it is. And, 25 years ago when I started, it was great. You made 1 or 2 phone calls, sometimes 1 phone call. It was so easy back then. I got a bit spoiled, actually. But now it is much harder. You have to try harder. But the actual skills involved haven't changed. And the skills of listening to people, picking up the phone, taking action, leading with kindness, these are skills that will last for eternity, not just during tough times, but good times, unsure times. It doesn't matter. There's just certain skills and skills that are kind of every season of the year.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously we can tell like you specialize in sales. So what tips and tricks would you give to someone in these tough times running a business?
Okay. The first, well, apart from what I mentioned, so I mentioned already the importance of, it's really important to listen. Listen to what a client says and listen to their tone. I strongly recommend picking up the phone, especially if somebody emails you and their phone number is there. Don't email them back. Pick up the phone and have a conversation. And just like when you speak to somebody on the phone, it's exactly the same as doing a LinkedIn or a social media post. It's not about you. It's never about you. It's always about the client. Your job is to really help the customer win. That's what I always say. And that's really key. In terms of other sort of techniques that I use, I think it's absolutely vital before I speak to anybody. I'll spend about 5 minutes on social media trying to find out a bit more about this person, if they have a LinkedIn profile. Just seeing, what do we have in common? What mutual connections do they have? Who do they follow? Do they do any voluntary work? I'll often try and find a common bond. And if I can't, then I just go to their website and I'll have a look at a blog they've written or their company has written. I'll have a look at clients they work with. And when I call a client, I'll then say, I've been on your website and I read this blog, I read this news article. Congratulations, that's really great. How do you feel about that? And all of a sudden, that makes me stand out from pretty much everybody else, Katie, because I'm taking an interest in what the client does. When most people sell, they only think about themselves. But when I sell, I'm leading with the client's website, the client's article, the client's awards, something the client has shared on social media. It always is about the client. And if you call a client and lead with the client, it just gives you more credibility, it gives you more gravitas, and it gives you an extra minute or 2 on the phone.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard you obviously through this podcast mention about LinkedIn quite a lot. And I think a lot of our listeners mostly haven't even thought of LinkedIn as a platform. Why is it your kind of go-to platform and how important is it?
If you're in the B2B world, LinkedIn is vital. Microsoft didn't pay £26 billion just because they thought it was a good idea. It is the #1 business platform in the world. Now, for many, say, people in the beauty business, that's more consumer driven. So Facebook and Instagram is more important, without a doubt. At the same time, people buy people. So LinkedIn does work to a certain extent on a consumer level as well. And the idea of LinkedIn is it's about sharing valuable content. So, once or twice a week, I will share sales tips, of course, that will help people. But quite often, I'll revolve it around a story. So the story I told you about the insurance person, that was about the importance of picking up the phone. The biggest article I've ever done, Katie, was my daughter went to Australia 2 months ago, which absolutely broke my heart. Oh God, as a parent, it just breaks your heart when daughter goes away for 5 months. It was a university exchange program. And I talked about that. And I talked about the lessons she taught me in sales, like resilience and, not caring what people think and having a strong mindset and speaking your mind, but I turned it into a story, and storytelling is one of the best ways to share your content on any platform, not just LinkedIn. So I always encourage people to try and tell stories rather than just say, here's what I do. Because people don't really care about what you do, they care about how you help them. And ultimately, storytelling is remembered 10 times more than just facts.
Yeah, definitely. And whenever we do kind of storytelling or, talk from the heart or anything like that, like you did I remember reading your daughter's post, or your post about your daughter, it always gets so much more connection from people.
Yeah, and it's okay to be a bit vulnerable sometimes. I remember in January, before I wrote about my daughter, I wrote about how over Christmas I was alone. I'd recently been divorced, and spending Christmas by myself really was the toughest thing I've ever endured. And on the 1st of January, I decided to write about it. I was quite nervous because I didn't really want people to think I was being weak. But I talked about how I spent Christmas alone, how it absolutely broke me. And what I did was I hired a mindset coach to help me. And that mindset coach gave me the strength to just kind of get back on my feet and get strong again. And so many people reached out to me saying, oh my goodness, I had no idea you got divorced because you're such a positive person and you're so helpful. And all of a sudden, again, people started to relate to me. I got about an extra 100 LinkedIn connections. And to my surprise, I wasn't expecting this, I won a new client. Because a client connected with me saying, you're so real. So many coaches on LinkedIn are just a bit fake and they brag all the time. But I really appreciate your vulnerability. And we spoke for 1 or 2 sessions for 15, 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, I'm in there coaching their business. That's just based on me being authentic and being real and being a bit vulnerable.
Wonderful. So obviously you have already had a best-selling book before, haven't you?
That's right. That was quite a surprise because Everybody Works in Sales came out 2 years ago. And, a lot of sales books are only read by salespeople. That's the problem with sales books. Business books are read by a broad audience. The sales books are only read by salespeople. Mm-hmm. I thought, how am I going to get this out to a bigger audience? And one thing we talked about earlier was the importance of storytelling. Mm-hmm. So I wrote this book as my life story. What it was like, leaving Northern Ireland, coming to London, spending 2 years unemployed, probably the toughest years of my life, starting off at the very bottom, and working my way to the top. And what that journey was of failure and success. And people understood it because, again, it was real, it was authentic, it was storytelling. There were stories of marriage, stories of depression, stories of success and failure. And people just got it. They connected with it. And that's why I became a bestseller for 21 weeks, which for a self-published book, from a guy from Milton Keynes, that is unheard of. It just doesn't happen. So just word of mouth spread, and it sold for the first year. It just kept selling consistently. And it really helped launch me as a speaker, because as a speaker and a coach, nobody really knew who I was, and that was great. That was wonderful. And then recently, a lot of my business owners, my clients who are business owners, said, can you create something for us that will really help us? Because we're so busy, we haven't got time to read books every day for hours and hours. So I created the Easy Guide to Sales for Business Owners, which is my brand new book, which came out on Amazon 2 weeks ago, and went to number 24 in the charts, which is fantastic.
Wow, well done. That's amazing. I need to get my hands on that as well.
Well, thank you.
I'm going to get my hands on both of them. I love a good read. And you're kindly going to give away a signed copy of the book, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, both books are very good. And I was thinking, well, which one's going to benefit your readers most? So the Easy Sales Guide for Business Owners, I mean, I think that will really benefit your audience the most. And what I'll do is we can have a little competition at the very end, and whoever wins, they can send you their email address, their postal address, and I'll happily sign a copy. and send one to them in the post in the next 7 days. I think that'll be a nice thing to do as well.
Yeah, definitely. They'll love that. Who doesn't love a giveaway? So where can people connect with you if they want to get in touch? What's your social media handles? Are you on Instagram as well?
The best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn through Niraj Kapur, NIRAJ KAPUR, or you can go to everybodyworksinsales.com, my website. Instagram I quite like. Actually, my daughter set up my Instagram page, but at the moment, Instagram I just kind of use for fun. I don't really use it for business. But ultimately, most of my business is LinkedIn, word of mouth. Those are the two ways I kind of get business now. So yeah, Niraj Kapur on LinkedIn, and Everybody Works in Sales as well.
Fabulous. I'm really, really grateful for you coming on tonight. Thank you so much for giving up your time.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And I'm thinking for the competition question, maybe the competition could be name 3 things you're going to do as a result of this interview, and everybody emails you at a certain email address, and whoever gives the best, say, top 3 takeaways, we'll send them a signed copy of the book. How does that sound?
Yeah, wonderful. So those of you that are listening and have carried on to the end, the top 3 takeaways that you've got from this podcast, if you email me at katie@kgsalon.com, that's katie@kgsalon.com, and then me and yourself can come up with the best 3, and then we'll send the signed copy to them directly.
Yeah, that sounds lovely, because coaching is not just learning, it's about implementing. And that's absolutely vital. It's about accountability, and that's what I do in my coaching. So every time I coach people, I always give them 3 takeaways they're going to implement for the next session. And that's so, so important, because it means you're going to learn and you're going to get smarter. And that's all I care about. People listen to this and they implement 3 things, you're going to do so much better going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Wonderful. Well, thank you so, so much. And I'm sure my listeners are going to get so much from this podcast, and I have already. So thank you.
No, it's a pleasure. Good to speak to you again, Katie.
We would love to hear what you thought about this episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please leave a review and share on social media tagging @KG Salon so we can share.
I always follow them.
Until next time, have an amazing, successful week.